Everybody's ready, Johnny. You want to take it away? And again, Maria, you know the drill. Okay.
Hello and welcome everyone for what's new in Red Hat OpenShift 4.19. I am Maria Simon from product management team, and I have a number of colleagues here to bring you and me the exciting features that are coming up as part of this new release. Whether you're new to OpenShift or you have been working on it for a while, it's incredibly valuable to understand how it forms part of the backbone of our open hybrid cloud platform. At its core, OpenShift is Kubernetes, but it's more than that. It has a lot of powerful enhancements. It comes with a convenient installer, efficient over-the-air updates, and a vast catalog of content from Red Hat and our certified partners. This means that you can easily extend your cluster's capabilities to enable things like service mesh, declarative CI pipelines, GitOps-based delivery, and much more. OpenShift runs on Red Hat Enterprise Linux Core OS. It's our immutable container-optimized operating system. This provides a consistent and reliable foundation, whether you're running on large bare metal systems in your data center or small devices at the edge, or on virtual machines in a private or public cloud. We got you covered no matter what is your infrastructure. As your operations grow, you'll find yourself having to manage a fleet of clusters. OpenShift provides a robust multi-cluster management layer. This allows for compliance and security policies, central security scanning, multi-cluster orchestration and lifecycle, and a central container registry and scalable distributed storage services. All of that is bundled up as part of OpenShift Platform Plus. The best part of all of that is that you decide how to manage and run it, whether you want to run the stack yourself or you want to consume it from a managed service provided by our public cloud partners. And it doesn't stop there. With Red Hat Application Foundations, OpenShift Developer Services, and OpenShift AI, you can further extend what's possible, truly embracing an open and hybrid approach to your applications and innovation. And now I'm going to hand it over to Nick for some open source updates.
Thank you, Maria. In OpenShift 4.19, it is based on the Cryo 1.32 and Kubernetes.1.32. This is the last release in Kubernetes' first decade anniversary, and is aptly named after Penelope from the Odyssey. She spent 10 years weaving during the day and removing certain parts each night. Here are some of the highlights. In this release, a number of quality life improvements graduate to stable. Firstly, the addition of custom resource field selectors marks a significant milestone for custom resources, as developers can now perform more efficient and precise filtering for custom resources in the same manner as built-in Kubernetes objects. Additionally, the support for dynamic sizing of memory-backed volumes helps improve workload portability and overall node resource utilization. Finally, no release would be complete without some security improvements. Improvements to bound service count tokens graduates to stable. And now the node name is included in the service count token claims and enables users to use this information during authorization and admission. This also keeps service account credentials from becoming privilege escalation paths for nodes. Next slide. So in addition to what is happening upstream, in the OpenShift 4.19, we are pleased to announce several product improvements that are driven by customer request. This slide shows the top requested enhancements as delivered in this release. Firstly, we have some significant GA items. For hosted clusters, you can now update your external DNS at any time and access your API from the new name. Hypershift will automatically regenerate your kube config and console login command output. Additionally, the ability for OpenShift routes to consume TLS certificates as secrets enables admins to leverage tools such as Cert Manager to manage certificates for routes, reducing the manual steps needed for certificate creation and rotation. Lastly, we have a couple of exciting enhancements coming as technology preview. The community external secrets operator has been widely adopted as the go-to tool for managing Kubernetes secrets on a cluster. And we're excited to announce the TP release of the operator downstream. Finally, the newly added support for bring your own external OIDC authentication brings in direct integration of external OIDC identity providers to the API server. Now, onto the Spotlight section. Thank you.
Now, let's talk a little bit about what are the major features that are coming as part of this release. Based on Kubernetes 1.32 and Cryo 1.32, OpenShift 19 is GAing tomorrow, June 17th. This release brings enhancements to core virtualization, security use cases, as well as your experience together with OpenShift Platform Plus. So let's start with core. We are graduating Gateway API with Istio to general availability. This provides unified, open, and extensible API for managing cluster ingress that replaces the traditional Kubernetes ingress APIs. We're also providing seamless integration between OpenShift networking and customer external networks with BGP. OpenShift Lightspeed is now generally available and introduces the new tech preview capabilities such as bring your own knowledge and cluster interaction. We are also promoting to tech preview the dynamic accelerator slicer, which lets you dynamically partition and allocate GPUs to optimize the performance of data science models. And along with Red Hat Build on Queue, which is the Kubernetes native job queuing system, it's been purposely built for ML and batch workloads. On cluster image mode, also named as on cluster layering, allows you to treat the operating system like a container image. This lets you now define your operating system configuration as code. Build it as a unified image and deploy it consistently across your entire fleet. On the virtualization front, some of the key highlights include storage class migrations. Customers can now migrate virtual machines from one storage class to a different storage class in a single cluster, making it easier to perform bulk VM migrations. Customers can now run OpenShift virtualization virtually anywhere, either on bare metal or on-prem, including AWS, Azure, Google, IBM Cloud, Oracle's Cloud. It is already available in ROSA, and it is also now available as the preview in Arrow and OpenShift Dedicated. We will have a simplified installer for OpenShift Virtualization Engine, and we are releasing OpenShift Virtualization Hardening. Now, as part of the security updates, OpenShift routes can consume TLS certificates stored within Kubernetes, and we are bringing confidential computing so that you can better protect your data in use. We are going to add support on confidential nodes in Google Cloud and Azure, and for IBM set users, we now have confidential containers via HyperProtect services, which utilize OpenShift sandbox containers to unlock your data in a multi-tenant setup. What about OpenShift Platform Plus? Well, now it includes, with the latest version of ACS 4.8, compliance scanning, policy as code, and external IPs. The latest version of Advanced Cluster Manager, which is the 2.14, includes on-demand offering in AWS Marketplace, providing on-demand pricing and simplified and consolidated billing option for customers. ODF expands its disaster recovery support for multiple ODF storage classes. And now let's learn more about each of these cool features that are coming in, and hand it over to Deepti for some updates into the networking.
Thanks, Maria. So we're very excited to announce the general availability of Gateway API with OpenShift Service Mesh 3 in this release. This marks a very significant milestone on how we can manage ingress in OpenShift, because we are providing a modern Kubernetes native API, which is extensible, expressive, flexible than the traditional ingress API that we have today. Very importantly, Gateway API can be installed side by side with the existing HA proxy-based OpenShift ingress, so customers can continue to rely on a decade of proven stability and performance of HA proxy while also adopting and discovering new paradigms gradually. With this release, OpenShift now fully supports the Route API, which has been OpenShift's default traditional way to manage ingress, the Ingress API, which is widely adopted in the Kubernetes native ingress environments, and of course, the Gateway API, which brings in advanced traffic control, role separation, mesh integration capabilities. The OpenShift Ingress operator handles the complete life cycle from installing Istio via OpenShift Service Mesh, managing DNS, load balancer configuration for the same. It's very important to note that enabling Service Mesh is not required for you to run Gateway API. Next slide, please. Over to Mark.
Great, thank you, DT. On this slide, BGP, previously supported only with MetalLB for external service load balancing, is now directly supported in OpenShift networking in a first Z-Stream release of OpenShift 4.19. This BGP support will enable direct integration of different BGP environments using BGP learned routes between them. So for example, between a cluster user-defined network or UDN and a provider network. The import and export of routes can be configured independently of each other, and advertisement of UDNs is a cluster admin privileged capability. Configuration of BFD to quickly detect and monitor link failures is supported in this supported configuration. The diagram on this slide exemplifies using BGP to advertise routes to a target UDN on another node across a provider network that has a BGP router at its edge. This enables a VM to be live migrated from its original UDN on, in this case, node 2 to a UDN on node 1 while keeping its original IP address. Importantly, in our roadmap going forward, we'll add a couple of really big enhancements to this BGP support. First, we're going to enable no overlay support so that BGP can be used for node-to-node traffic within the cluster, eliminating the default need for Geneve encapsulation of packets, and that'll give better performance. And second, we'll also enable EVPN support, a common data center networking fabric that relies on BGP, which will enable deeper integration into existing BGP implementations and especially provider networks. Next slide, please.
Hi. OpenShift Lightspeed is now GA. OpenShift Lightspeed is a generative AI-based chat assistant. In this, you can do some basic troubleshooting and ask product knowledge using natural language and get the information back in natural language. We support several LLM provider in an online or connected mode. You can connect it with watsonx, Azure AI, and OpenAI. And in a disconnected mode, you can connect the OpenShift Lightspeed to RHEL AI and OpenShift AI. There are a few features, very important features that are in tech preview. We want customers to go and try it. One is cluster interaction, where you can say, list all my parts. You're talking to the cluster in a natural language and getting information back in a natural language. And bring your own knowledge, like you can bring your own SOPs or run book into the product, and it will answer back based on your organization, what information that you have provided to Lightspeed. Subscription level, it's included in OpenShift subscription. Next slide, please. Dynamic accelerated slices, as the name suggests, it dynamically slices your GPU, your GPUs. Your GPUs are very expensive, and they are available in a limited quantity. So, in opposed to just statically partitioning the GPU and giving it to the workload, now workload decides what type of what GPU partition it wants, and based on that declaration, the GPU is partitioned dynamically from there. Next slide. Red Hat built a queue, and this is coming as in general availability coming soon. So think of, you have a model that you want to train. A model consists of a bunch of jobs, and these jobs needs to execute together. And when it try to execute together, and if there is not enough resources available in the cluster, the queue, that job goes into the queue, which is provided by Red Hat build a queue, and the job stays there until the appropriate resource is available. Then job is sent for the execution. So basically, it is for the job management for your trainings. Next slide and next presenter, please.
Hi, folks. OpenShift 4.13, I'm going back in time here for a sec, marked the first time that we shipped RHEL CoreOS in a container for production use. It allowed OpenShift admins the ability to customize their images and integrate more third-party solutions and additional RHEL packages, but it also put responsibility for updating the image on the administrator. It was your responsibility to pull the correct base image, build it, push it to a registry, and tell the MCO to roll it out. Not a lot of steps, but we didn't provide any automation for it. Now in OpenShift 4.19, we're introducing on-cluster layering. Actually, if you've heard of any of the buzz around image mode for RHEL, you should absolutely think of this as image mode for OpenShift. The implementations today are slightly different, but the core concepts are the same, and so is the primary interface, the Docker file. This allows us to use the same tools and patterns on operating system images that we use with application containers. For the technically curious, we are planning a smooth migration to bootc as our implementation, But the key thing here is that everything you learned today, the container file syntax and the workflows, will work the same tomorrow. Once you've configured on-cluster layering, or image mode here, and set up your container file directives, the build controller will dispatch any appropriate build jobs and roll them out to the cluster. When there's a new OpenShift upgrade, the build is rerun automatically, totally hands-off. We will still have off-cluster layering as an option, but we think this is the best way to go for most users. It allows you to customize your nodes while still keeping the one-click, upgrade your whole platform experience that OpenShift 4 is known for. We're incredibly excited to bring this feature to market. Please reach out to me directly, through your account team, through Red Hat support. We're very interested in what people are using it for, what doesn't work, what enhancements you'd like to see. And this is a great opportunity to help us shape the future of cloud-native OS management. And last note, we have not forgotten about our EUS users, and we're working to backport this to an upcoming patch release of 4.18. Next slide.
Hi, everyone. So for those customers who are looking to run on hybrid cloud and on their virtual machines there, we now offer more options. In this release, we introduce additional cloud. So we now support tech preview for Aero and OSD, the Red Hat managed offering, as well as tech preview on GCP and Oracle Cloud infrastructure. With networking, we keep adding more and more capabilities, and we're happy to announce that in this release, we're now tech previewing single stack IPv6, as well as providing better user experience for customers connecting their pods and virtual machines to the online physical network through OBN Kubernetes LocalNet. A request that we got from multiple customers was the ability to migrate storage between different storage classes. This can be due to storage array lifecycle management, load balancing of the storage, or any other reason. In the previous release, we introduced the ability to do it for a single VM, and with this release, we allow you to do this cluster, this storage class migration for multiple VMs at once. Another important balancing for customers is actually balancing the workloads between their nodes. With this, they get optimal operations. In 4.19, we introduced a new tech preview load-aware balancing mechanism that balances the work based on actual CPU utilization of the workloads. For the VM management, we keep doing a lot of work on simplifying the user experience, empowering users to do more with their UI. In this release, we GA'd the preview VM navigation and added the functionality to do right-click operations on those VMs. We also added a tech preview feature for advanced search that allow users to search VMs based on multiple different VM attributes. Last request that we got is actually the ability to support multiple languages, and we're happy to announce that in this release, we are now aligned with OpenShift Console, and we support all the 7 languages that are supported there, including Spanish, French, Japanese, Korean, and Chinese. I'll take it to Harriet.
Thanks. Hi, folks. Today, I'd like to introduce the new way to do GitOps in your multi-cluster fleet. That is the Argo CD agent. In OpenShift GitOps 1.17, which will be coming out alongside OpenShift 4.19, the Argo CD agent will be moving from developer preview to tech preview. Instead of having to choose between a centralized or distributed topology for your Argo CD instances, the agent gives you the best parts of both. You can take advantage of the resource sharing and observability on your principal or hub cluster, plus the security benefits of network isolation and one-way communication on your remote clusters that are running your agents. The new architecture allows you to split up your Argo CD instances and run just your application controllers and your agent on your workload clusters, which reduces the footprint and the resource requirements of both your remote clusters and your control plane. Perfect network connectivity isn't expected in the remote clusters. and they will remain autonomous in case of network interruption, and a connection will be automatically re-established when it becomes available. The agent can be installed manually via our Helm chart, but there will also soon be an option to automate and simplify the deployment and lifecycle management of agent components by using ACM with our Argo CD agent ACM add-on. So there's a lot more to talk about with the agent, but I'll leave it there for now and keep your eyes out for one of our blog posts with more information about how to get started. Next slide.
Incident detection is a new feature of Cluster Observability Operator. It allows you to manage alert noise effectively and provides you with the ideal starting point to your troubleshooting journey. Additionally, technologies like Correlator, also part of the Cluster Observability Operator, will provide you more detail and all the information you need to successfully debug your cluster. Next slide, please.
Thank you, Tomasz. So we are glad to announce the right-sizing recommendations features at the namespace cluster level that will be available as technology preview with the upcoming Advanced Cluster Management 2.14 release. This feature helps identify over-provisioned and underutilized resources in managed clusters. In other words, right-sizing analyzes resource consumption and suggests optimal CPU and memory values for namespaces and clusters, reducing the risk of facing unnecessary costs. The output is displayed as a Grafana dashboard in the ACM console, as you can see from the slide. The requisites include having ACM and multi-cluster observability installed with proper permissions. We're looking forward to receiving your feedback, and now AI accelerators. So next slide.
Thanks, Vanessa. Let me talk to you about OpenShift support for AI infrastructure. So forgive me as I butcher some of these names. First up, the NVIDIA B200 GPU and the RTX Pro 600 Blackwell Server Edition. They're now supported to the NVIDIA GPU operator. You need to go and get yourself version 25.3.0 to go do that. Both the HGX B200 and the DGX B200 systems are certified in Red Hat system ecosystem catalog. So if you want that cutting edge performance with full enterprise support, it's there for you now. We've documented that full configuration process for multi-node, multi-GPU deployments using GPU Direct RDMA. What you get with this is high throughput, low latency communication between GPUs across nodes with either Rocky or InfiniBand. And if you look at training large-scale AI models, you absolutely need that. Not to forget about AMD on that side, the AMD GPU operator now supports the newly announced MI325X GPU with OpenShift and containers. That GPU operator also provides real-time health checks. So there's a metrics exporter there, and that integrates with the Kubernetes device plugin. So you can automatically remove unhealthy GPUs from scheduling resources. And finally on this, there's a new telemetry dashboard, and who doesn't need a new dashboard? That's built into the OpenShift web console, and it will specifically monitor your AI accelerators. So that's going to give you some real-time insights into GPU performance, power usage, memory utilization, clock speeds, energy consumption. And it's just going to help your administrators quickly assess their workload efficiency and system health. Using the dashboard. But you want to be able to manage this stuff at scale. So how about we do next slide and I hand over to Ramon.
Thank you, Duncan. So in this development cycle, we continue our progress towards releasing Arrow with HCP in 2026. We wanted to share an update with you, even though this is going to be available next year only, but things like scaling up to 500 nodes, improvements in the network, with AKS, part of what we've been making progress with in this release. AWS capacity block support, we can now guarantee access to reserved EC2 instances requiring specialized hardware. The typical use case is instances with GPUs. And in this release, and in fact, this has been available for a few weeks now, CNI certification for HCP. We have got a lot of requests for Cilium CNI, Calico CNI, and in combination with hosted clusters, hosted control planes. And we're happy to announce that some of our partners, these two in particular, are already in the pipeline to release support along with the new OpenShift release. OADP integration for hosted control planes. Now you can back up and restore hosted control planes from the management cluster with the OpenShift API for data protection, including restoring hosted control planes in a different management cluster. So you can have a hosted control planes run in a management cluster, and through this new integration, now you can restore it in a separate management cluster, effectively allowing you to migrate between management clusters. And update hosted control planes API DNS on day 2. What is this? Well, you may want to update the DNS name to access your hosted clusters through the API. This happens on day 2. So in this release, now this is a possibility. If you decide that the DNS name to access your hosted clusters needs to change, now Hypershift will take care of it. Next slide, please.
Thanks, Ramon. So it's exciting to see more and more clusters rolling out with hosted control planes. This growth provides additional opportunities to manage the expanding fleet with Red Hat Advanced Cluster Management for Kubernetes, or just ACM for short. So I wanted to start with our advancements in virtualization management. It's a key area of focus for the rest of this year and into next year. First, we've introduced a tech preview of fine-grained RBAC, which allows you to define user access for virtual machines at both the cluster and namespace levels. This crucial area will continue to be developed in future versions. Since ACM 2.12, we've enabled users to perform actions on virtual machines. In our latest release, we've added features like snapshot, restore from snapshot, and delete protection for virtual machines that are running. Finally, we continue to add observability enhancements, allowing users to specify downsampling for metrics collection, to view and modify the allow list of metrics, add recording rules, and get a Kubernetes native metrics collection stack for non-OpenShift spoke clusters. Next slide, please. So we've also been focusing on making advanced cluster operations easier and more efficient. A key update is our work on the cluster API or CAPI operator for cluster lifecycle. We're enabling you to create, manage, and scale your ROSA HCP clusters with the Kappa provider, and supporting cluster API for Metal 3 and Agent with the CAP OA provider. For reliable application rollouts, we have a tech preview of progressive sync and pull model integration. We're also making policy management safer with policy dry run command line flags that allow you to test policies before deployment. This capability enables you to write test automation and CI pipelines to continuously validate policies as they are added or updated to Git processes. You can now customize your hub naming, allowing you to choose any name to fit your company requirements or add a bit of personalization. We've also updated Gatekeeper to the latest community release of 3.19. And then finally, I wanted to highlight that ACM is now available on the AWS Marketplace with flexible pay-as-you-go billing for Red Hat ACM running on ROSA clusters. So you only have to pay for cores that are actively managed by an ACM hub. And thanks very much for your time. And with that, I'll pass things off to Maria on the ACS team.
Thank you, Sean. Let's talk now about Advanced Cluster Security, which is releasing its 4.8 version a couple of days after OpenShift. Our policy as code feature will be generally available then. What this means is that now you can manage your security policies as a standard Kubernetes resources. This makes it very easy to integrate your GitOps workflows with tools like Argo CD, and also it brings the benefits of version control and automation to your policy management. We are also GAing external IP visibility. So now you can visualize what exact external IP addresses your deployments are communicating with, and really understanding what are your outbound connections. We continue our enhancements to support our supply chain security story, now with the keyless 6-door integration. So this now supports validating images signed with short-lived credentials and leverages integration with record and transparency logs. Our scanner v4 that GA some time ago is now the default for all new OpenShift Advanced Cluster Security installations. And we are also releasing on GA OpenShift Infrastructure Compliance. This allows you to assess and ensure compliance across your entire OpenShift fleet, giving you a very clear and actionable way security posture. And now some updates from Quade, from Daniel.
Thanks, Maria. The release of Quay that accompanies OpenShift 419 is Quay 315, and in this release, we are focusing a lot on performance, reliability, and resource utilization improvements. Specifically because Quay is increasingly used as a storage target for really large assets like large language models or other large predictive machine learning models in the form of OCR artifacts. We saw excessive memory consumption, especially with Google Cloud Storage as a backend. So we enhanced that driver to support multi-part uploads chunking, which reduces the memory consumption significantly and also avoids any timeouts when uploading these kind of artifacts. We also improved the user interface quite a bit. We added the notification drawer that we know from the old UI to the newer Patternfly implementation. And we also improved the performance of the repository list view. This could get quite slow if there were a lot of repositories available to user. Now this is rendering instantly and continues to fetch additional result pages opportunistically in the background to make the user experience really, really instant. We also changed the implementation of the proxy pull-through cache. This is a functionality that is very popular with users that want to give mediated access to trusted upstream and external registries or selected image repositories in those external registries. Previously, it could happen that when a client was putting an image through the cache, it may have already had some of the image layers locally available. And what would end up in Quay is sort of a partially pulled image inside the cache, which we couldn't really scan with our vulnerability scanning functionality. So starting with Quay 315, we changed the implementation so that a image that is pulled through the proxy cache of Quay is always pulled entirely, regardless of what image layers the clients are actually requesting. And that means a subsequent pull of this image is now reliably fast. And we also have reliable image scanning available for these cached images in Quay. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to observability and sustainability with Roger.
Thank you, Daniel. So we will start off with cluster observability operator. This is an optional component, and it's designed to highly customize your scaling and monitoring stacks that you can have that's beyond your default monitoring capabilities. What it also does is that CO will also enable some of the observability UI components in the OpenShift web console and some of the related analytics features. So 2 new releases took place after the GA announcement that we had, like in January this year, and the latest that we release alongside with OpenShift 419 is 1.2. And with this release, you can have some benefits from new accelerator dashboards under Observe section in the web console, and that is powered by Persis. Then that's also now included by CO by default. The general availability of the traces UI, specifically the scatter plot, trace table, and Gantt chart features. We got some advanced filtering options for the traces part for the traces UI. We got OTL support for the logging UI, and also we have some enhancements for the incident detection and signal correlation features. Both are tech previews and will soon be released as GA. And let's move over to monitoring updates. So with OpenShift, we are introducing a set of new enhancements in an operating stack, and that is both new features and some upgrades. But I want to spend some more time on the Prometheus 3 integration, since that's a kind of a significant shift from the 2 points line. And with Prometheus 3, this marks a generation shift. Prometheus 3 is not just a version bump, it modernized the whole core engine and laying some groundwork for the future integration that we will have. And the major motivation between this was that they wanted to clean out some deprecated and experimental flags, improving the performance, and also evolving Prometheus to better integrate with OpenTelemetry that a lot of customers starts to use. And with this, it comes like with, it's not a non-breaking change, like Prometheus has a long-standing of having backward compatibility on most of the things, and it will also bring some new interesting features to remote write, native histograms that are coming. So it will support out of order ingestion. We will support UTF-8 support, both in metrics, names, and labels. That will bring Prometheus closer to the OpenTelemetry model. Some other changes is that we promoted scrape files to general availability, and those are now stable, and it's makes it easier to tune your collection on workload or per use case. We also added a nice feature that customer have been asking for external alert management with proxy URL that allows you to support alerts to an external alert manager via the proxy. And it's kind of crucial for multi-cluster and hybrid setups. Some updates you can read about there, but let's move out to logging. So on the logging collection side, we include the Splunk metadata support, and it's making it easier to work with Splunk by exposing more metadata keys. This will help teams to classify, search, and analyze logs, especially in quite complex environments. Cluster logging will also support now you to send multiple AWS CloudWatch destinations through the secure SDS authentication, and also great with people that have multiple AWS accounts or regions. On the storage side, we adding the new virtual shot style configuration. And what that means is that it will allow your teams to manage logging infrastructure in a more model way. And it's similar how you would manage like virtual tenants. In tech preview, Loki will also introduce some resource limits for the CPU and memory limits. And yeah, so it will help you control resource usage and ensuring the system stability. So let's move on to tracing. Some key things in OpenTelemetry components that are going GA. The Prometheus receiver, that will allow you to have metrics ingesting directly to the pipeline. The attributes and resource attributes processor, allowing you to add metadata to spans and metrics. We have the Kafka exporter, kind of critical for event-driven and scalable observability backends. And also in tech preview, we are introducing tail-based sampling. And that will allow you to evaluate spans after they've been created. So helping you to retain like the most relevant traces and reduce noise. For distributed tracing, we are enabling fine-grained RBAC. So now you can control who has stored the trace data. Also, you see we're focused on more on multi-tenant and multi-cluster solutions and observability, and you will see that coming forward in future versions as well. We also added short-lived token support, both for GCP and Azure, and making the integration with cloud-native environments more secure. And a short update on power monitoring. The power monitoring, especially on the upstream side for the Kepler project, has been rewritten, the whole core, and the decision was made to have it redesigned to make it more enable flexibility and modularity, because we wanted to have a more modular architecture. So we have broken up the Kepler monolith and turned it into components. And this makes the integration to OpenShift in the future now much clearer, and all the future enhancements will go faster. So this release that will release in 0.5 in the second half of July will support 4.17 to 4.19, and it will focus on bare metal platforms for node level, pods, containers, VMs, especially in consuming mode, so as VMS workloads, not like the hosts, and process level visibility. And lastly, we are very happy to announce that we are now members of the Dynatrace AI Ready program. In this program, Red Hat OpenShift AI users can get their enhanced observability for their GenAI and LLM workloads by using the OpenTelemetry, and then they send those data to Dynatrace, visualize it in some customized dashboards, and you can read all about this in the blogs listed below here. And with this integration, we're going to make it easier to deploy and monitor and optimize AI on OpenShift. So, and that's all for observability. And let's move on to the next speaker. That's Ali Mobran on console.
Thanks, Roger. Hi, folks. We have some big news for OpenShift users. With version 4.19, we're rolling out some major enhancements to the console designed to boost your productivity and simplify your experience. The admin dev perspectives have been seamlessly merged into one powerful default view. Say goodbye to constant switching. You can now perform all your tasks, from viewing topology to managing resources, from a single comprehensive interface. To ensure easy adoption, a built-in guided tool will walk you through the updated UI, making it easy to adjust to the new experience. Next up, I'm excited to introduce favorites. Quickly bookmark and access your most used pages for truly customized workflow. In addition to all of this, the console has been upgraded to the cutting-edge Patternfly 6 design library, offering a more intuitive and visually appealing experience. And finally, for those who appreciate the application developer view, the traditional dev perspective remains available as optional re-enablement. Next slide, please. So we got a quick but important update regarding dynamic plugins. As you saw with OpenShift Console's upgrade in 4.19, we've officially adopted Patternfly 6, which means Patternfly 4 is now deprecated. To help you with this transition, we've updated all our example repositories. So please refer to these updated examples when you're upgrading your existing plugins to Patternfly 6 or developing new ones. Finally, we removed the feature gate for content security policies. While we won't enforce content security policies in this release, the console will now inform you if any plugins are breaking the existing policies. This gives you a heads up to address potential issues before enforcement begins. Next slide, please. All right, we're always working to bring you enhancements you asked for. So in OpenShift 4.19, we delivered on some of the top customer enhancement requests. First up, a highly anticipated feature, which is custom favicons are now configurable. You'll be able to set both light and dark theme logos and favicons, giving you more branding control over your OpenShift console. Next, we've improved identity provider management. You can now delete IDPs directly from the UI, streamlining administrative tasks. Finally, to help you right-size your workloads, users will now see recommended values from the vertical pod autoscaler. This valuable insight assists both admins and developers in correctly sizing their applications, leading to better resource utilization and performance on cluster. With that, I'm going to pass this off to the developer experience. Thanks, y'all.
Hey, Ali, thank you. Okay, let's talk about dev experience stuff. So first off, OpenShift Dev Spaces version 3.21 is available now. That's based off Eclipse Chase 7.102. Fans of working locally when developing will be very pleased by this release because it includes how to connect your local JetBrains IDE through the JetBrains gateway to your remote dev space instance. So very handy if you like coding locally. We've also got new a new way to configure, for administrators to configure, I should say, and customize the settings of VS Code through things like the settings, the extensions, the product JSON, and that makes customizations quicker and easier for administrators. We've also got the ability to configure 2 GitLab OAuth providers. So if you happen to have GitLab SaaS and you have GitLab on premises as well, then you can now configure the 2 together and use the 2 together, which is really handy. And finally, we have the ability to configure user namespaces with an OpenShift template. Again, something very useful for admins. You can replicate the resources and move those across namespaces, things such as resource quotas and network policies, etc. Next slide, please. Podman Desktop, very exciting time for Podman, of course. Now it's a CNCF project. We have in this particular release, first of all, look at the stars in the corner. 5.9 thousand stars on GitHub, which is awesome. But we also have a new, simpler registry mirroring configuration. We've got improved Kubernetes support as well, with more objects supported, things like pods, maps, secrets, etc. We've also got new namespace switching and better performance out of that as well. You can now do searches in logs, which is really useful. You can prune untagged images, clear away all that unused drive space that you've got. And also we've got experimental features, things like status bar, task manager, Kubernetes context monitoring, etc. And that all the changes don't end there. We've also got some exciting stuff happening in the world of extensions. We've got bootc, so you can experiment with bootable containers on your desktop, which is really, really handy. We've got minc, which allows you to start microshift in a container, a little bit like Kind, if you're familiar with that. You'll be able to use that for development purposes, of course. And then we've got rel VMs, so run Red Hat Enterprise Linux in VMs directly from Podman Desktop. And it's also Podman Desktop itself is now also available in rel 10. Next slide, please. More and more happening as well in Podman AI Lab. We have lots of new stuff in local inferencing with GPU acceleration support. We've got Rama Llama. We've got support for OpenVINO, if you're familiar with Intel's server-side stuff as well. We've got an experimentation playground, which is expanding all the time. So we've got new recipes in the catalog. We've got OpenAI API. So if you're doing inferencing, you would like to do completions, you can do that. We've got OLAMA API compatibility. And we also have MCP support coming in the playground, which is really good. Anyone who hasn't heard of MCP, definitely worth doing a bit of a Google there to see how exciting that stuff is. And finally, in the agentic space, we've also got an easy start of Llama Stack. So if you're familiar with Llama Stack, you'll be able to start that more easily from the Podman AI Lab. You can, of course, explore its APIs. You can look at agents and recipes. You can also experiment with the MCP server support if you want to bring in MCP servers. And of course, there's also a Podman MCP server. So you can have agents mess about with your Podman for you magically as you prompt, which is really cool. So don't forget to try that out. Go to podman-desktop.io and have a look at that today. Next slide, please. Oh, what we've got here, this is OpenShift developer experience. So we've got the OpenShift toolkit for VS Code. So this is more IntelliJ support. IntelliJ support has been removed. Wasn't many people using that, unfortunately. So better to cut that away. So that's what we've done. We've also got OpenShift pipeline tasks in the cluster view added to the Application Explorer, and we've got multiple K8s configuration files supported. When configured in kubeconfig as your environment variable. We've also got in Quarkus tools, VS Code and IntelliJ. Performance improvements to the Qt language server. We've got support for integer operations in Qt files, and we've also got bug fixes and stability improvements, which always are useful, of course. And we've got language server protocol plugin. Many performance improvements there. We've got language server installer API. There's some debug adapter protocol support as well, and various LSP implementations too. So go and check those out. What have we got next? Next slide, please. Developer Hub. That's product I work on. This is great. So RxDH 1.5 highlights were high availability support in OpenShift. So if you want to run larger groups of people against Developer Hub, then you can do that more easily now. We've also got fantastic global header and floating buttons support, which is a really cool UI tool that you can reconfigure to bring to your whole developer community various useful tools and widgets and things. We've got tech docs add-ons, so you can have richer tech docs, you can have scaling of tech docs. Just basically makes for a much nicer environment in which to consume your tech docs and also to publish, which is great. And we've got easier RBAC too, with bulk selection of users. We've got groups, plugins, permissions. So that really speeds up your RBAC usage, particularly if you're in an organization with a lot of users and a lot of complexity. Should make life much easier for you. That was 1.5. 1.6. RxDH Local is now available as a dev preview. So if you've never tried RxDH before and you're quite interested in what it looks like, RxDH Local is definitely the place to start. Spin it up on Podman or Docker and start to play with RxDH, get familiar with what's available under the covers, and maybe even start to make some of your own customizations and try things out. We've also got high availability support for AKS. We've got plugin configuration YAML now featured in the extension catalog GUI, so you can go and look at all the extensions and see what the configuration is for each of them, and you can delegate RBAC control to other teams. Really handy if you're thinking, oh, how can I make this sort of work in a multi-tenancies type of way if I want to delegate teams so they can look after their own RBAC. this is really, really useful. So check it out. And we're starting to add more in the way of end user documentation. So if you're a platform team, you're rolling it out to a large body of end users, and you want them to get familiar with how everything works, how the UI is all put together and stuff, starting to add more and more documentation for that. Still more to come, but watch this space. We've got already catalogs, templates, and tech docs. So that's it for me. Over to Jeff for runtimes.
All right, thank you, Ben. I want to talk about the Red Hat build of Quarkus, which was released in May of this year. For those not familiar with Quarkus, it is a Kubernetes native Java framework, so it makes it easier for developers to create and support high-performance Java workloads on OpenShift. One of the key updates with this release is OpenTelemetry logging, which now adds automatic trace and span IDs to logs. So this makes it easier to correlate logs and traces, which allows you to faster debugging and improved observability. We also support WebSocket, what we're calling Next, which introduces a simpler annotation-driven API tailored towards reactive applications. So this reduces boilerplate code and integrates better with Quarkus's underlying non-blocking runtime, which is Vertex. This is ideal for applications that need more real-time features and capabilities. For performance, Quarkus now supports reflection-free Jackson serialization, which eliminates runtime reflection by generating these serializers at the build time. So this results in faster cold starts and better native compatibility using tools like GraalVM. On the security side, Quarkus now supports multi-authentication within a single request. So if you've got a MTLS and OIDC authorization flow, then this helps with without having to use customized code. It builds it into one. And with this release, we've moved to Universal Base Image 9 by default. And one other important thing to note is that the Red Hat build of Quarkus support is no longer included in RHEL 10. The reason I say this is that because it is still included in OpenShift. So Quarkus support comes native with all OpenShift releases and versions. So keep that in mind. Next slide, please. Wanted to bring your attention to a couple of Quarkus workshops that we have that, if you're not aware of them, they're a great tool if you're looking into it. So we've got Quarkus and OpenShift workshop that is good for if you've got Java, you want to move Java workloads onto OpenShift, or you've got some maybe Spring performance issues with your apps running on OpenShift. This is a great workshop. We also have a modern application development, also known as MAD Roadshow, which is good if you're looking to modernize your existing Jakarta EE apps to Quarkus and OpenShift. And lastly, we have a Java for AI workshop, which is specifically for enterprise Java developers that are looking to infuse AI into their existing or new applications. This is not for data scientists or MLOps. This is really for those hardcore Java developers that want to bring AI into their applications. So thank you very much, and I'll turn over to Platform Services.
Thanks, Jeff. We'll start off with Service Mesh, which helps you create secure, reliable microservices with automated MTLS, zero trust policies, and visibility with metrics and traces. Now, while we know most of our customers are busy migrating to Service Mesh 3.0, we're about to release Service Mesh 3.1, which is based on Istio 126 and Kiali 2.11. OCP 4.19 brings end-to-end gateway API support to Service Mesh, now including the CRDs. What we're most excited about is the technology preview of Istio's ambient mode. Have you sworn off Service Mesh because you thought it was too heavy, too resource intensive, or because you did not like the idea of sidecar proxies with your applications? Well, Istio's ambient mode targets these challenges with no sidecars, significantly less resource usage, and fewer proxies. This enables pod-to-pod MTLS encryption with minimal overhead, with independently scalable waypoints that can be added to enable a full range of application-level Service Mesh features. OpenShift Service Mesh 3.1 will be supported on OCP 4.14+. I might hand it over to Harriet for GitOps.
Thanks, Jamie. So the latest GitOps release is version 1.17. And if you're unfamiliar with OpenShift GitOps, it's based on Argo CD and Argo rollouts from the upstream Argo project. And it provides continuous delivery for things like applications, cluster config, or any other kind of resources. There's a lot to be excited about in 1.17. And some of the highlights from this release are the upstream 3.0 release. There were some breaking changes in the upstream release, but we have set them to be backwards compatible in config so they can be optionally enabled. These config backstops will get removed in a future release, and we'll provide deprecation notices in our release notes in advance of that. So as I mentioned in our Spotlight section, the Argo agent has been upgraded to tech preview. We'd love for folks to check this out and give us feedback on how the agent works for them. We anticipate this is going to be the way that everyone wants to manage their remote clusters in the future. So we're working really closely with the ACM team to make sure that our products work really well together and to make managing your fleet as effortless as possible. On the rollout side, we've got a new view in the OpenShift console. You can see your rollouts in the topology view, like in this simple example in our screenshot here. And finally, this release includes a customer RFE, which is that all components now have logs available in JSON. Now I'll hand over to Carlos to talk about builds and pipelines.
Thanks, Harriet. As the new PM for OpenShift pipelines, I'm really excited to talk to you about the latest release, 1.18. First off, we have added stateful sets originals to avoid hotspotting, giving you more control to prioritize consistent workload distribution over quick recovery from the default leader mechanism. Next, with Tecton Cache, you can now significantly optimize each build times, eliminating redundant downloads by storing and retrieving build dependencies in a cloud storage. Moving on to the pipeline's code features, now pipeline runs automatically cancel when pull requests are closed or merged, or when new commits are made, saving you resources. You also have more ways to trigger pipeline runs, including file changes, commit comments, or by matching pull request labels across GitHub, GitLab, and Git. Plus, a new addition to the TKN command line make it easier to test patterns during development. Finally, Tecton results reaches GA. And last but not least, OpenShift builds, which will feature ship-right cloud-native build packs in tech preview, and migration guides from build config to ship-right builds will be available. Now, I will hand over to Siamak to talk about serverless.
Thank you. Serverless 1.36 will be released alongside OpenShift 4.19 that brings Knative 1.16 to the platform. There are a lot of updates in this release. I'll just walk you through a couple of notable ones. Integration source and sync is now added into serverless as a tech preview. This essentially enables users to use a subset of the Camelot connectors directly with Knative. And in this release, we included a number of AWS connectors like S3 and SQS and so on. Another area is a long-standing, like really requested frequently by a lot of our customers is encrypting data in transit directly within the eventing. And in this release, this feature finally gets to the general availability that allows HTTPS encryption for the eventing component of serverless as well without the need of using service mesh. And last but not least is the Key-in event plugin that is now GA. That's the CLI command for Knative, and that now allows you to be able to test your eventing components, also send a test event to it, and be able to include in the CI, for example, for those type of workloads directly using the CLI. Next. And migration toolkit for application also is released alongside OpenShift. The 7.3 release has come out that enables that introduces new migration paths from Spring Boot 2 to 3 and Spring Framework, the traditional legacy Spring Framework from 5 to 6. And we are incrementally releasing asset generation feature that we call a group of features we call asset generation with MTA that essentially expands the migration, not to just migrate the code, but also generate assets that are needed for deploying that application onto OpenShift, from help chart to other manifests, and expand it potentially future to CI/CD and other areas. Next.
Thank you, Siamak. For the installer flexibility, we keep offering for use case driven onboarding experiences to provide different levels of control and automation when installing OpenShift. First one is automated or install provision infrastructure, where the installer controls the full installation experience, including infrastructure provisioning and opinionated best practices deployment of OpenShift. Second one is full control or user-provided infrastructure, where you are responsible of provisioning and managing your own infrastructure, allowing you with the customization and operational flexibility. The third one is interactive. It is a connected experience with the assisted installer, which provides a web-based user interface that guides you during the creation process. And finally, local or disconnected experience with the agent-based installer that provides a streamlined method to deploy OpenShift in restricted environments like fully disconnected or air-gapped environments. In this release, we have extended support for additional Oracle Cloud Infrastructure services, including private cloud appliance, Oracle Cloud Customer, and dedicated region. This support has been backported starting in OpenShift 4.18. Next slide, and let's take a closer look at the new installation related features on this release. For AWS, Ingress controllers now support manual specification of load balancer subnets, while AWS automatically discovers subnets by default. Providing subnets details in the Ingress controller configuration overrides this behavior, giving the user full control over subnet selection. We have also added support for new Asia-Pacific regions like Malaysia and Thailand, expanding regional availability and deployment options. For Google Cloud, as Maria mentioned before in the release highlights, you can now deploy OpenShift on confidential nodes using both Intel TDX and AMD 7MP technologies, enable confidential computing across all cluster nodes to protect data in use. We have introduced support for using a custom DNS solution when deploying OpenShift on Google Cloud, providing flexibility to avoid relying on the cloud provider DNS service during cluster installations. This feature is available as a technology preview, and we are planning to make it general available in the upcoming release. For Azure, similar to Google Cloud, you can deploy now OpenShift on confidential nodes using AMD 7MP technologies, enable confidential computing across all cluster nodes to protect data in use, and we are planning to introduce Intel TDX support in the coming release. We have also added support for the latest Azure VM series like LSB4, DXB6, and NB series, expanding compute options for a wider range of workloads. And with all this, over to you, Michal.
Thanks, Mark. Let's look at new functionality which is coming together with 4.19 for our on-premise platforms. First, for bare metal, we are announcing bare metal as a service as a technology preview. This powerful feature allows you to provide provision and manage your physical host directly through the Metal Tree API. We also announcing the new functionality as a general availability for network controller sidebound interface, which will simplify out-of-band communication with your server's management controllers. And looking at the future, we are introducing a copy provider for bare metal, also as a technology preview. Next, for vSphere users, we have several key updates. First, for our customers, they can now map OpenShift zones to vSphere host groups. Regarding to your feedback, we also made it possible to disable vSphere CSI driver. This is a critical feature for those who decided to use alternative storage solution. Additionally, you can now create the multiple network interfaces directly with the API installer. For Nutanix customers, we are happy to announce that the Nutanix platform is now generally available on our agent-based installer, simplifying your deployment process. On the IBM front, you're likely seen the announcement about their new Power and Z systems. We spent a lot of time together with them to ensure that OpenShift is fully ready to run on the next generation hardware. For multi-architecture, we decided to implement together with our builds team a feature that you can now build a multi-architecture container image right within OpenShift, ensuring your applications can run wherever you need them. Next slide, please. Now, I want to highlight exciting developer preview in 4.19 that dramatically simplify getting started with OpenShift virtualization. We created new streamlined onboarding experience that's perfect for our air-gap customers. The installation now is completely self-contained. That means that you can develop your cluster without an external registry. We also may change the installation process that now you can use UI-driven workflow. The assisted installer UI is directly running on your hardware during the setup and guiding you through the configuration that you don't need to modify YAML files. Finally, we pre-configured the set of operators which are mandatory for to address your virtualization needs, so you can get the functionality faster and use the new cluster just immediately. We encourage you to explore those new functionality and share your feedback, and which we can incorporate in upcoming releases. Now, let's go to the next slide when we will listen about other features. Thanks.
Thank you, Miguel. So, OpenShift to start, key highlights for 4.19. We have enabled support in the preview capacity for OpenShift AI. This is basically being based on the previous work that we have done to expose vGPU and GPU pass-throughs to the ANOVA instances, which are serving the Shift on Stack cluster. In addition to that, we also improved the topology awareness around the CSI, the Cinder CSI driver, which basically ports the availability zone awareness from the operator, the Cinder CSI operator, to the Cinder CSI driver. This is basically aligns us with the default availability zone and allows us to use either storage availability zones or NOVA, which are the default ones, thus enabling us to streamline deployment without any collisions or misalignments. On Red Hat OpenStack, on OpenShift, ROSO, we have additional key highlights. One of them is the tech previewing of the OpenStack resource controller, in short, ORC. ORC is basically a new multi-cluster tool to manage, create, and deploy OpenStack resources like projects, users, networks, flavors. Basically, it's an orchestration tool which uses native Kubernetes interfaces and declarative API to create the day 2 resources on top of a deployed cloud. And it can do so across multiple OpenStack deployments based on the new architecture, which is OpenStack services on top of OpenShift. And last but not least, we have GA'd the multi-ROSO capability, which is basically the ability to deploy multiple OpenStack environments under namespace isolation, utilizing the same OpenShift infrastructure. That's a great tool for resource consolidation, mostly around the control plane. It enables customers to deploy dev, stage, and also some production environments in namespace isolation on the same infrastructure, and thus enabling massive consolidation and saving a lot of resources for our customers. And with that, I'll hand it over to Sabine. Thank you.
Thank you. In 4.19, we tech preview a new feature as part of the recommend command. This is more like a pre-check experience to find issues before you trigger an update. For example, in the UI shown, when you run the recommend command, it will not only show you the next version which you want to upgrade, it will also list all the alerts which it finds in the cluster. For example, the cluster operator not available or a PDB issue. So this gives you an actionable item for the cluster admin to go and resolve the issues before you trigger an update. This is tech preview in 4.19. It's a read-only command, does not alter the state of the cluster. Please try it out and give us a feedback. Thank you. Over to Tony.
Thank you. Today, I'm excited to share an enhancement in OC Mirror v2 for its phase 1 support on 6-door style signature mirroring. OC Mirror v2 now empowers you to secure your offline content by mirroring container images alongside their associated cosine signatures. This is a crucial step forward for ensuring the integrity and authenticity of your OpenShift images, especially in air-gapped environments. With this release, OC Mirror v2 can discover and mirror these signatures, directly addressing this need for scalable and flexible validations in offline scenarios. By default, signature mirroring is still disabled, but is easily enabled with a flag. What's more, you get granular control, allowing you to configure mirroring behavior per registry, namespace, or even specific images using the registry deconfigurations. This means your mirrored content will remain verifiable and trusted. This is a game changer for bolstering your supply chain security in disconnected deployments with OpenShift. With that, I hand it over to Roman for control plane. Thank you.
Thank you, Tony. So for the OpenShift control plane, this release, we have a couple of security updates. The first one is TLS version 1.3 is now supported, which will increase the security and a little bit the performance of accessing to your control plane, to the API, the kubelet, and the ingress controller. In this release, cgroup version 1 is removed. We deprecated it in OpenShift 4.16 and made Linux control groups version 2 available and by default, and now it's removed. And in this release, we're also introducing a section in our documentation specific for the control plane. We have a lot of information about how to configure, how to enhance the performance of the control plane, depending on your use cases, kind of scattered around the documentation, and starting by the etcd consolidation of all this information in one section, you will see improvements in this area in our documentation. And next, Nick, for more security highlights.
Thank you, Ramon. So some of the security highlights for OpenShift are as follows. Firstly, we have the bring your own external authentication, and we're excited to, with this, bring you the ability to connect your corporate identity providers directly to the API server. Key benefits would include support for the OIDC client credential workflows, complete control over session and token management, and the ability to integrate with existing solutions and tools seamlessly. Next, we also have the Zero Trust Workload Identity Manager. This is a day 2 operator, and it brings the upstream SPIFFE and Spire to give you the ability to have multi-factor authentication for your workloads. The tech preview version of this will include OIDC federation capabilities and the Spire Controller Manager for auto-registration of workloads. So in the realm of workload secrets, we, as previously mentioned, the GA support of OpenShift routes to consume TLS certificates stored in Kubernetes secrets is a significant milestone. Additionally, we have a number of improvements to our secret management operators, including Cert Manager and Secret Store CSI to support them in disconnected environments. And finally, with the external secrets operator, it is a day 2 operator that will give you the ability to create and rotate and consume credentials in OpenShift. All of these managed by the external secret management system of your choice. So the technology preview version of this will include support for multi-tenancy, as well as the generator feature, which can help with creation of short-lived tokens. Now back to Deepti for networking.
Thanks, Nick. So we already covered the general availability of Gateway API and BGP support for OV and Kubernetes in the Spotlight section. So let's explore a few more networking highlights we have in this release. First up is the DPU operator support in OpenShift. So what is the DPU, right? A DPU is a data processing unit. It's a new class of processor that works alongside your CPU and GPUs to handle any critical data-centric tasks, be it networking, security, and storage. So by offloading these functions from the CPU to the DPU, you can help accelerate performance, reduce latency, strengthen security, and also free up your CPU resources for business applications. So the DPU operator in OpenShift is currently tech preview. This automates the deployment and lifecycle management of DPU managed infrastructure in a vendor agnostic way. So do check this out. Moving on. Support for balanced SLB mode in Open vSwitch. This enables source load balancing across multiple physical interfaces. This is very ideal for on-prem networks. It works independently of network switches, so it makes it very simple to deploy and manage. And a very key benefit in a use case, it preserves the source IP for your virtual machines. So this ensures a consistent ingress and egress behavior. It also provides high availability, seamless IP identity management, and traffic distribution for your critical workloads. Next slide, please. So we are going to support endpoints in endport in multi-network policy. So this basically allows customers to define network policies with port ranges. So this benefits use case, especially when it involves around migrating your virtual machine instances onto OpenShift virtualization. Moving on from that, we also like to remind customers that OpenShift SDN CNI is officially deprecated from OpenShift 4.17. And to support your migration from OpenShift SDN to OVNK, we're very pleased to announce yet another way to help you migrate using Ansible playbooks. This feature will be soon available on your, these playbooks are available on your Ansible Automation Hub very soon. So this helps you for a seamless offline migration. Also continuing, we're happy to announce IPsec stability and quality improvements in this release. We basically are, in this particular release, we're looking to both simplify your deployment and upgrade process for IP security. Especially for large-scale clusters. There was a substantial effort that was involved across multiple teams, and a huge shout-out to all of them, which helped us land this feature in this release. Apart from that, we have the eBPF Manager Operator, which is currently technology preview. This basically enhances OpenShift cluster functionality by enabling deployment and management of your eBPF programs. This operator already works with your ingress node firewall and the network observability operator, providing a robust framework for network security and monitoring within OpenShift. Next slide, please. So finally, we have the OpenShift network observability operator with its 1.9 release. This is an add-on operator for OpenShift clusters that enables administrators and developers to monitor, analyze, and gain insight into your network traffic. So in this particular release, we're very delighted to announce the general availability for UDN observability. So you get a comprehensive visibility of your user-defined networks, helping you better understand and manage these complex topologies within your OpenShift cluster. We also are introducing IPsec tracking with this operator. This is a very crucial step to provide security observability, allowing you to monitor your IPsec encrypted traffic. This builds on significant stability and quality improvements that we have made around core IPsec feature for OpenShift 4.19. Also continuing it, we have OVN observability sampling as a tech preview. This allows intelligent sampling of your network data, balancing the need for resource efficiency with comprehensive observability. We do have multiple other enhancements related to the network observability lightweight CLI, which allows you to capture and analyze traffic. So overall, OpenShift Network Observability 1.9 focuses on empowering cluster administrators and developers for better tooling and understanding and greater visibility to all things OpenShift networking. Next slide, please. Over to Chris for Connectivity Link. Thank you.
Thank you, DP. So Red Hat Connectivity Link is happy to announce the release of version 1.1. This new release brings a lot of new features, hardening of existing features, and begins to lay the foundation for the roadmap into the future of Red Hat Connectivity Link. The first of our highlighted features is our core DNS plugin, and that allows Red Hat Connectivity Link to manage DNS policy on your local DNS server while providing the same functionality you already get on Connectivity Link's integrations with the cloud service providers' DNS solutions. Features like geo-based routing structure, traffic weighting, load balancing, and more. This feature also allows for a complete local development experience with Red Hat Connectivity Link in tow. The second of the highlighted features in this release include the support for Gateway API 1.2, which is upcoming, which brings with it gRPC routing, WebSocket support, timeouts, retries, and a treasure trove of new capabilities available via Gateway API. Lastly, it will ship with the preparation around policies for inference serving of AI models, handling responsibilities such as token-based rate limiting, universal authentication, enforced policies for AI applications, model versioning, and deployment via traffic splitting, inference serving metrics, and more later to come this summer, early fall. So please check out 1.1 release of the Red Hat Connectivity Link released at the beginning of this month. Next slide, please hand it off to Tony and Operator Framework.
Thank you. Let's dive into some exciting tech preview features of the next generation Operator Lifecycle Manager. First up, pre-flight permission checks. A common challenge in the operator deployments with ONV1 can be ensuring all necessary permissions are in place. ONV1 now addresses this. Before you install or upgrade an operators, you can easily preview all the required RBAC permissions. This not only ensures a smoother deployments, but also helps maintain the principle of least privilege by giving you clear, actionable, and detailed feedback on exactly what are needed. No more guesswork. Secondly, we are introducing broader support for existing operators. ONV1 now can manage operators that utilize own namespace and single namespace install mode. This is crucial for preserving compatibilities with the current operator landscape, ensuring a smoother transition to ONV1 and securing existing workloads and investments. We encourage you to explore these tech preview features and provide us with your valuable feedback. With that, I hand it over to Gregory for storage.
Thanks, Tony, and hello, everyone. So let's start this what's new with the CSI and operators. We have quite a few additions on the vSphere side. First, and this is likely the most anticipated one, we're introducing full support for CNS live migration. This is done directly through the vSphere UI and let administrators moving volumes from one data store to another. And obviously, this is useful if you're running out of space on a particular data store or you want to decommission storage. As previously mentioned, we added a very simple way to disable the vSphere CSI driver, as well as extending entry volumes that have been migrated to CSI. The CSI driver also supports mapping OpenShift zone to vSphere host group, as noted earlier. Last, we are adding tech preview parameter to configure the maximum number of volumes that can be attached to a worker node, the default being 59. On the Azure side, we added support for connecting OpenShift Azure file storage that are on a different subscription than the actual cluster. And this is requires for some environments who are segregating OpenShift and the actual storage in different subscriptions. On the core storage front, we're introducing volume attribute classes as tech preview. This allows you to change some of the volume properties after it's been created, and it's usually done for updating QoS. Another core feature is recovering from expansion failures. So if you extend a volume and it fails, usually because there is not enough capacity, users can now re-edit the PVC and specify a lower value. Finally, we are adding a very basic, but yet very useful CLI option that lets users show how much space a PVC consumes or get a top list of the largest one. Next slide, please. All right, let's cover ODF now. So starting with regional disaster recovery, we are introducing enhanced support for multiple storage classes, such as Replicat 2 or any other custom storage class. We're also adding support for multi-volume containers. On the object storage front, you'll see new improvement in the OpenShift console object brother, as well as new HA solution to improve the MOC gateway. And what else? New storage autoscaler is now available as an opt-in option for customers that are running in the cloud or on vSphere. And last, for customers who are interested in doing early testing, we are introducing dev preview support for ARM architectures. And that's all for storage. Handing over to Daniel.
Thank you, Greg. Welcome to the Edge section. Let's take a look at Telco Edge first. A specific challenge for network operators are catastrophic hardware failures. In this scenario, a single node OpenShift instance is down due to a hardware failure, and a new server is shipped to the far edge. Now we need to restore the software stack to the previous server state as quickly as possible. And we call this the break and fix scenario. And an important goal is to maintain management and observability continuity of the replacement. And we do this by keeping all the cluster identifiers the same. Image-based break and fix was developer preview previously, and we now transition it to technology preview status. Check the OpenShift docs for more details on that. And what else is happening at the edge? You might remember from the What's Next in OpenShift sessions that we are working on two-node OpenShift solutions. Today, I'm pleased to announce that we now have the first variant of this in tech preview, two-node OpenShift with an arbiter. This is a nice compromise to get the high availability and resilience of a three-node compact cluster, but at a reduced cost. The third node, enroll arbiter, runs only at CD components, hence it can be really small and cheap. The tech preview version supports IPI bare metal installation method. Assisted and agent-based installation will be added in 4.20. Now let's look at Red Hat Device Edge and Microshift. Microshift is our small form factor Kubernetes distribution for really small far edge devices. Let me highlight a couple of new features here. First of all, we have AI model serving, which is an important use case at the edge. We now support the Red Hat OpenShift AI model serving based on Kserve, also on Microshift. This means you can train and test your models in the data center and then seamlessly use the same model serving runtime at the edge. Another nice new feature is that we now have lightweight observability solution based on an open telemetry agent available. And lastly, Microshift 4.19 switches to RHEL 9.6 as the underlying operating system, like OpenShift does. And with that, we move RHEL image mode for Microshift, including a bootc base image, to GA status. And that concludes the updates on Edge topics. Mariah, back to you.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you for joining us today, sticking with us till the end. This video will also be recorded, and it will be available shortly in the platforms.